It's not supporting your troops if you say, hey, there might be more efficient ways to spend money so that then we could actually help our troops who are in harm's way more effectively. Let's go to Donald Trump. But this is something a lot of people out there are saying, hey, can you help us sort of navigate this a little bit? Because there are a lot of cabinet positions that need to be, I think it's well into the hundreds that take place over the course of a presidency as far as
a lot of appointments,
not cabinet, but you appoint people to the cabinet and then there are hundreds of appointments that stem from that. So these are pretty important picks. And especially considering that, I think a valid criticism is Donald Trump would cycle through some cabinet appointments pretty quickly. But again, you have to understand this guy was an outsider, and I'm hoping now he's a little more equipped to deal with this. And I will tell you this: what we're seeing as far as a theme is we are seeing a very targeted foreign policy, very concentrated. So in other words, it's not something that's haphazard, what they've accused Donald Trump of doing. And then you're seeing some experts undergird that with efficiency, cost efficiency. In other words, no, we don't. Hold on a second. We don't want wars everywhere, but some places make sense to support militarily. But we have to make sure that we're not wasting money. And that's something you can do. You can't really have a president necessarily, certainly not quickly, just absolve us or do away with the deficit, right? Which would cut into the debt. That's pretty tough to do. But you can take actions to whittle away at the inefficiency. So at least at the end of the day, someone's not holding a bill of stuff that you never should have purchased in the first place. So let's go through some of these cabinet positions, and you can let me know which one you're most excited about or which one you're not excited about. To be clear, all of them are flawed, but all of them have some good sides to them. Marco Rubio is going to be Secretary of State. So if these reports are confirmed, that would again show, Marco Rubio, as far as Secretary of State, as far as how it relates to foreign policy, and he would be the top advisor, by the way, to the president on foreign policy. He'd be conducting a lot of negotiations, treaties, agreements. That's a big part of what a Secretary of State does. He's been really pretty clear that he's been in line with Donald Trump's posturing on foreign policy, which is typically a strongman, muscular posturing, without engaging in needless conflict. He's very much, Marco Rubio, for maximum pressures, sanctions against Iran, which we saw in the first administration, and we saw undone. And he's pretty, one thing, so to give you an idea, he's not really big on Ukraine. He's actually been pretty critical. This is overlay D3. Critical of funding to Ukraine, called the National Security Bill, which sent $61 billion to Ukraine, moral extortion and blackmail. And he also agreed on NBC, I believe in September, with Donald Trump's plan to end the war.
I'm not on Russia's side, but unfortunately the reality of it is that the way the war in Ukraine is going to end is with a negotiated settlement. And I want, and we want, and I believe Donald Trump wants, for Ukraine to have more leverage in that negotiation. But in order to be in a position to be a broker who can bring about that agreement, I think he's going to preserve what he says. He approaches these things as someone not in politics or diplomacy, but as someone with a background in business.
So that's how it relates to spending, which, again, we were told that all Americans supported the spending on Ukraine. All Americans supported this foreign intervention. And very much like us, he is morally on board with supporting Israel's right. This is a contrast to Ukraine and Russia. Right? In other words, you can be, this is not something that should involve the United States. But you know what? I also think that it's important to let Israel know that they have the right to defend themselves and they have the right to, effectively destroy the enemies who want to wipe out all the Jews. So again, that's a concerted approach. Whether you agree with it or not, it's not scattershot. And you can see Rubio's stance on Israel in this pretty fun clip.
Senator Rubio, will you call for a ceasefire?
No, I will not.
Gaza?
On the contrary.
Rubio,
are you filming it?
Wait,
I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas should stop building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you don't care that 15,000 have died? You don't care about the babies that are being killed every day?
I think it's horrifying. I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
And just to be clear, that woman, first off, I don't know at what point in time she was probably using Hamas numbers.
Yeah.
When someone says, you don't care about, it doesn't matter what it is. When they go to you don't care about X lives lost, if it's gun control. You don't care about X. It means they're being disingenuous. Far more lives are saved by firearms every year in the United States defensively. Hold on a second. There were people who were raped and killed in Israel, innocent civilians who were targeted. Look, the conversation is not that neither one of us cares not about the loss of innocent life. I believe that crazy lady, that likely socialist crazy lady, cares about the innocent lives lost. I believe if it were to come down to it, she would feel bad for the innocent lives lost in Israel. She just cares more about the people in Palestine, who unfortunately, a huge portion of them, elected Hamas. It's just disingenuous, and I would just say disengage when someone tries to pull the "you don't care about these lives lost."
I think she cares more about the moral value that she sees with her, her group of friends, the mob or whatever. I don't think she actually cares. I think the thing would be great is you go, oh, you feel bad? Give me a solution.
Right.
They don't have one.
No.
Stop the pain. Oh.
Do you care about the rockets that are constantly fired, like all the time? Right. Let's not just focus on one day, but also look, so these are the conflicts that are going on right now. He's good on Iran, which is to prevent a conflict. He's also, I think, pretty good on China when it comes to, trade and competition and how we have to view them strategically, because that involves, that's the other flashpoint in the world right now that we need to have really good eyes on. So I think this is a better pick than a lot of people think.
And you guys can comment. I know some people are saying, he's a rhino, or he's a neocon. I don't really know that I see that from Rubio. And he's been on the show, full disclosure, but we've had plenty of people on the show who I agree with on some things, disagree on some other things. I have people on the show regularly who I don't even necessarily like.
Why do you have to say that about
everyone's looking around.
I think everybody looked at the same spot.
He was...
my contract's almost up.
Rubio was fun when he was on the show I think he's been on 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And here's something else that this shows. It shows that with Donald Trump, the showmanship during an election is a little bit different from how he governs. He is able to put some grudges behind him because he went in pretty hard on Rubio.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.
When they put Marco on to refute President Obama's speech, do you remember that catastrophe? And he's like this, and we were, I need water. Help me. I need water. Help. And this is on live television.
That was almost a politically career-ending move by Marco Rubio, was getting dry mouth.
I know.
Giving the Republican response and dying on air.
I know. And then he was like, "Hey, Marco, you want a job?
Let's do it.
How much do you want to bet that Rubio was half expecting? Shake!"
The old whoop.
Yeah. Let's look at the next position. That again, some of these are tentative; they're not all confirmed, but it seems as though this is the way it's going.
Yeah.
For National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz from Florida, and again, this really shows that if we're not going to engage in needless conflict, is that something that can be reconciled with, having the most powerful military in the world? Yes, especially when that includes being a cost-efficient military and not wasting money. Sometimes people just equate throwing money at the military with making it the most powerful in the world. I think we can all agree objectively that at this point in time, that's no longer the case.
No, cutting the DEI program would probably be the first place to start.
Yes.
I can tell you
a bunch of money there.
100% objectively.
Yes.
It's a lot of waste going on.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, it's not supporting your troops if you say, hey, there might be more efficient ways to spend money so that then we could actually help our troops who are in harm's way more effectively.
No, it's not bad to say that kind of thing. Like, when was the last time you saw a tank in battle, an American tank in battle? Do you know how many are sitting in El Paso, just sitting there on concrete slab doing nothing?
Really? Yeah.
Dude, there's like hundreds. Maybe even more.
Yeah. Let's go
there's hundreds of them. You can get a drone view of them. They're just sitting there.
Not to mention the choppers in Afghanistan.
Oh yeah, they broke.
They're trying to fly those.
They tried to fly them and they broke.
So what would this man do, Waltz? He would, he'd be obviously advising the president on intelligence matters. He'd be preparing a lot of the daily briefings on national security issues. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Waltz is a Green Beret. He doesn't have the Tim Waltz qualification.
No, of course.
But he's also advocated for major reform over there at the Pentagon.
I think regardless of who he puts in, we need real reform in the Pentagon. Everything they buy seemingly costs twice as much, delivers half as much, and takes twice as long as it should. And the soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, they deserve better. And we need to get a culture of accountability into that place. No one ever seems to get fired with these massive cost overruns, massive waste. People were just circulating, Neil, a video of a hearing I had where I held up a bag of bolts that cost $90,000 for the Air Force to buy. It's a couple $100 in a hardware store. So things got to change. We don't need managers there. We need reformers.
To be fair, he got said bolts from Frankenstein's closet.
Well, they're very special.
They're a specialty item.
This is a guy who's special forces. They didn't have a budget like the rest of the military.
Right.
So this is coming from somebody who had like unlimited funds who's like, hey,
Right.
maybe not unlimited funds. Like we need to, square this up, man.
Yeah. I think sometimes people have this misconception where special forces, they think it's like James Bond where, because they're getting all of these gadgets. And in a lot of ways, they're being forced to do more with not all that much more.
Yeah, the SF guys, they go into other cultures and teach them how to, kind of like, the guerrilla warfare and how you teach people how to overthrow. That's what SF's designed to do.
Yeah.
So they're going into villages with nothing. The guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. Sounds like that's the kind of guy you would want. Hey, combine that with Elon Musk, because if you're looking at a government efficiency expert, good. That's what we need. We need a turnaround guy to come in now and say, look, I know you don't like this, but we're going to have to give a bunch of people their walking papers. Waltz is very hawkish on China, to be clear, so in line with Rubio, that would seem. He's been critical of continued support for Ukraine. He wants a negotiated settlement. So again, this is former special forces. It doesn't mean that they don't support our military, that they don't understand that conflict is taking place across the globe. He said, I think that will get Putin to the table. We have leverage, like taking the handcuffs off of the long-range weapons we provided Ukraine as well. And then, of course, I think we have plenty of leverage with Zelensky to get them to the table. So he believes in diplomacy. Isn't that a wonderful thing?
That's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to fund a bloodfest forever.
Well, this guy doesn't have any lobbyists in his pocket.
Nobody's going to win.
All these fascist diplomats.
Yes. Yeah. all these fascist non-war hawks. That being said, the next one. All right.
Well,
she likes to kill dogs, so that's
a dog.
I get it. It's not lost on me. Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security.
Definitely not a pikey.
Sparky. So, like the border czar, and again, this shows that there's synergy here between these cabinet positions. So I think he's being advised pretty well at this point. It's a little early to tell, but I like what I'm seeing. So the border czar, we told you about him yesterday, and AOC lost her mind on him, but then also secretly wanted him to give her a hug.
Butter her biscuit, so to speak.
Kristi Noem, she's never minced words on the border. Okay, she's been pretty strong on that. So, Director of Homeland Security, what does that mean she would do? She would be involved with immigration laws, border security, maritime security, security at the ports, right? She's been a very staunch supporter of strict immigration. Okay, she supported Donald Trump's what people called the Muslim ban from terrorism-ravaged countries. She deployed the South Dakota National Guard multiple times to the border. She offered to drive razor wire to Texas herself, and she tweeted this in 2021. South Dakota won't be taking any illegal immigrants that the Biden administration wants to relocate. My message to illegal immigrants, call me when you're an American.
That's fair. She's like, call me.
Yeah.
And here's my number.
Just wait.
Yes. Although that might send out the wrong signal because someone might actually go through the whole naturalization process and then call her and think they have a shot.
Well, and then John Wick called her and said, why'd you kill the dog?
Yes. So she was picked. John Wick went, no way, bro. Way.
That was so silly.
Little Miss Muffet eating her curds and way.
Well, that's a different way.
No. Yes. So, here's the thing. I think we can all agree. There are pros, there are cons. No matter what, she will definitely be better than current director Alejandro Mayorkas.
I'm asking you that today, as we sit here today, are all 9 sectors of the southwest border secure? And I'm just asking for a yes or no answer.
Congressman, I know you are asking for a yes or no answer. And the fact of the matter is that the challenges at the border are very complex and dynamic.
All right, well, I'm going to take from that if you can't answer yes, then the answer is no.
That is not true.
All right, so then you're saying all 9 are secure.
It is my testimony that the border is secure, and we are working every day, day and night, to increase its security.
Look, and here's the thing, too. Of course, we all know that Kamala Harris was border czar. She was, tasked with investigating the root cause of immigration at the Southern Triangle. Do I have that right?
I think so, yes.
Something like that.
It was dubbed the czar by Axios, not by Republicans, by the way.
Yes, but that was the talking
point.
We'll
do a research paper on it or something.
The numbers more than quadrupled Okay, that's just a fact. And I've been watching a lot of the leftist shows where they try and say, well, people are saying this, but actually the Biden administration did well on the border. What? First off, I get it. You don't have an answer by a poll, but the polls reflect the truth. 3 million under Donald Trump, his entire presidency. At minimum 12, more than likely 20 million. Up just to today with the Biden administration. Objectively, it is much worse. And then you can trace it and say, oh, that's because of the policies. And then you can trace that to a poll and say, and people believe that this is the case. This is good news. The polls actually line up with reality, which is not always the case. So if you look at these cabinet picks, it tends to give us a pretty clear picture, right? These picks are in line with the idea that Donald Trump has expressed quite a bit, which is peace through strength, right? We don't go to war, but we make sure that if we need to, we can blow our opponent out of the water. They're all focused on cost cutting, on being efficient. They're all focused on reducing, at least right now, what they claim, reducing government back to its intended scope. What you're looking at right now is you're seeing people saying, okay, is it a legitimate role of government for us to have a military? Yes. Is it a legitimate role of government to provide no-bid contracts, right? No-bid military contracts so that these weapons manufacturers and even third-party companies become wealthy? No, it is not. Is it within the legitimate American government purview to provide a never-ending supply of funding to Ukraine? No, it is not. Is it within the American government's purview to secure our borders? Yes, it is. Is it within our purview to do so efficiently? At the benefit of the American taxpayer. We do need a government that looks out for the American citizen, the American taxpayer, because we pay their salaries and not simply looking for a new voting bloc that's available for purchase. That's, I think, the starkest contrast that you will see in policy. What do TikTok nurses, COVID lockdowns, and lesbian school teachers have in common? None of them will be included in this next video if you click it. It's the internet. It's a cruel, dark place. I can't promise you the world. But today, I can offer you that. And isn't that a step in the right direction?